Hello, today we are going to discuss a new topic, and that's going to be scarcity and the supply framework. Now, when we are studying economics, do you think we can ignore the fact of studying scarcity? No, not at all. Why? Because the subject of economics is standing on the foundation of scarcity. The concept of scarcity itself makes us realize why we are studying this concept of economics. Hence, study of scarcity makes us understand many dimensions of this subject. We understand the way in which economy works, the way in which economic decisions are made, and the reason behind certain phenomena's operation in an economy. Hence, when I'm talking about scarcity so much, first let's understand what is scarcity. Scarcity is the limited availability of resources in comparison to its demand. Technically speaking, it is the relatively lesser supply of resources available. When I'm talking about resources, what are resources? Any means that help in satisfying our ends are resources. Those means could be money, labor, time, natural resources, anything of that sort. So all the means that are helping you satisfy your demands, your needs, your wants are resources. So when I'm talking about economics, we cannot ignore the two most important facts: limited resources and unlimited wants. These two are the reasons for problem of choice. These two are also the reason for the origination of economic problems. Hence, when I'm talking about scarcity, I would like to mention that scarcity can be understood in different dimensions. Scarcity can be an absolute concept and also a relative concept. When I'm talking about absolute concept, what do we understand by that? It is the exact limitation of resource availability. For example, time. We all have 24 hours. This is the absolute scarcity that we have. None of us can change. This is the rule of law, rule of nature. Can we change? We can't. This is absolute scarcity. Similarly, if I have to talk about relative scarcity, what do we understand by relative scarcity? Relative scarcity is in comparison to the demand, the supply is less. When I am comparing a resource's demand to its supply, the supply is less and the demand is more. In such situation, I say relatively scarce. Or it could also be in the way wherein I am comparing one resource with another resource. For example, if I am talking about a country like Germany, there we find the availability of laborers less compared to its demand. Similarly, we find more of capital equipments. The supply is more, but the demand is less. So when I'm comparing both laborer supply and capital supply, laborer supply is relatively less compared to capital. So this is the relative dimension of scarcity. Now, we need to also understand, why does this scarcity arise? What is the reason for scarcity? Now, the first and the foremost scarcity reason, if I have to list out, is the structural causes. When I'm talking about structural causes, it means to say the population in a particular geographic area or an economy is greater and the demand for that resource is also greater. But due to political reasons or due to geographical reasons, in that particular geographic region, we don't have the availability of such resources. For example, if I have to talk about northeastern states in our country, can we expect a greater development of metro cities there? No. Why? Because of the hilly region there. We often see landslides, we often see bad climates over there, which does not support an urbanized development of infrastructure. Hence, when I'm talking about structural cause, the structural cause includes three major things. One being the geographical limitation. Second one being the natural limitation. Third one being the political limitation also. In certain places, due to the political reasons, for example, having ineffective administration, also is one of the cause for not having effective availability of resources. If I am comparing the urban areas and the rural areas in our own country, we find this differentiation. We don't find adequate infrastructural availability at rural areas. This is a structural scarcity. Hence, this is one of the major causes of scarcity. Along with this, there are two other major causes. One is demand driven, one is supply driven. When we talk about demand driven, what do we understand by demand driven? Demand driven means to say when demand for a particular resource is greater than its supply, then we say that particular resource to be relatively less in supply, or we say the resource is scarce in nature. So when I am talking about demand driven, over here demand is the major factor that is making a resource to be highlighted as a scarce resource. On the other hand, if I am talking about supply driven scarcity, what is that then? In that case, the demand is constant, but on the other hand, we are observing the supply has deceased. The supply has fallen off. This could be due to natural reasons. Suppose in an economy, if there are natural calamities, what would happen? There could be destruction of factories, destruction of production units, which is going to further create reduction in the means of production and further impact the production process in the economy. Hence, when I am talking about supply driven scarcity, in this case, the demand would be constant, but the supply would fall down. And this would lead to scarcity. And the fall in supply is due to man-made causes and natural causes. Man-made causes like war, destruction, fire, anything of that sort. So, these are the various dimensions of scarcity. Now, similarly, if I have to talk about scarcity in a different perspective, we can also understand scarcity from two other dimensions. One, scarcity of resources may be in relation to the resources that we have. And also, it could be in the relation of resources that are required to purchase, to buy, to afford the ends that we want, the desires that we want, the goods that we want, the services that we want. So over here I am talking about two different perspectives again. Scarcity can be understood with the shortage, the limitation of resources that I have, and also the resources which are available to me from the market. For example, I may be very rich and I am able to buy anything in this world, but maybe that thing is not available at all in the market. It cannot be sold, it cannot be produced, it cannot be manufactured. So this is a kind of scarcity wherein no one is going to help me. So I am having abundance of resource to purchase anything, but the product that I require is not available. And apart from that, another is the simpler version where I am saying I don't have the adequate resources to purchase it. That means to say there are umpty number of things available in the market, but I am not having sufficient resources to afford it. So these are the two other dimensions of scarcity. So when we understand the concept of scarcity in this dimension, we also tend to understand another paradox, diamond-water paradox. Now, what is this diamond-water paradox? Diamond-water paradox reference was given in Adam Smith's book, The Wealth of Nations. Now, according to this paradox, diamond is priced high when compared to water. Diamond is not a necessity. Water is a necessity. But then too, water is priced less and diamond is priced high. Why is that so? Now, this paradox can be understood in the dimension of scarcity as well. When any resource is available lesser in quantity, there is a scarcity of resource. The people have the intention of grabbing it. They just want it. They don't want to miss it. In that case, when it is rarely available, people are ready to pay high price for it. But when a resource is readily available, people don't value it. Hence, in this case, diamonds have been priced higher and water has been priced lower. So, scarcity also helps us in understanding this paradox. Now, the concept of scarcity is not only given importance in the subject of economics, but its relevance is seen in different disciplines as well. On the concept of diamond water paradox and the relationship between scarcity and value, the relationship of scarcity and value in psychology, Dr. Robert Cialdini also made a study and mentioned the things that are rarely available are usually priced high in the market. And the concept of scarcity is also very prominent in marketing and management subjects. The researchers clearly highlight that companies use the concept of branding, use the concept of scarcity to create brands, to make their products popular. You would have often seen quantity related scarcity. You would have often seen time related scarcity on e-commerce stores. When I'm talking about quantity related scarcity, you are a customer who is shopping on a e-commerce platform. You may see 5 are left, buy soon, 3 are left, buy soon. This is quantity related scarcity, which drives you to purchase it faster. Take your decisions rapidly. Similarly, time related scarcity. The offer is valid. Similarly, we also see time related scarcity. What is this time related scarcity? You often see certain offers that are given to you just for 3 hours, for 2 hours. Groupon is an example wherein it puts its offer for 3 hours, 1 day, half a day and so on. So people get driven. Yes, we need to purchase it. If we don't purchase it, I'm going to miss out a golden opportunity. So the concept of scarcity holds a greater relevance in today's world, in the subject of economics, in the subject of management and marketing as well. Now, we are mainly going to see how does scarcity impact the supply framework. The supply framework is impacted by scarcity because if there is shortage of resources, it has a direct impact on supply. There is also a fall in supply. Hence, if I'm talking about supply curves, supply lines, we see a leftward shift in the supply curves. Why? Because of shortage of resources. If there is scarcity of resources, we usually find reduction in production. The production which is reduced is further going to impact the supply chain. Hence, whenever the scarcity of resources are more critical, the supply gets impacted negatively, adversely, and we see a fall in supply. This is how scarcity and supply work together. And that's all for this session. I hope you got the topic rightly. Good luck, keep studying, happy learning.